Hello, welcome back to my channel. Okay, let's continue on with Sable's Grimoire. Naturally, the message is not from one of my classmates, nor is it from my one and only contact, Drew. Thankfully, the message is not from my teacher either. Even if it is now daytime, a private message from a succubus is not something I want to wake up to. On this morning, the one who summoned me is none other than the principal. Called to the principal's office yet again. Pretty sure I'm not in trouble this time, but even so, it's a worrying feeling being summoned by an authority figure is rarely cause for joy. Is he going to try to convince me once again that I should accept his offer to become a pseudo third-year student and join the hunt? Maybe. He's decided that the magical artifact on my wrist wasn't enough of a punishment, and he's going to add my sentence. Either way, I doubt this is going to be a meeting I'll look back on fondly. Principal? Good morning, Sable. And in will do just fine, by the way. When I reach the principal's office, I find that the door is already opened, and N is waiting for me inside. Furthermore, to my surprise, LaShaw. He is not alone. Oh, LaShaw too. What's going on here? Is this about the hunt after all? I wish. My apologies for this summons, Sable. I told my father that your presence was not required, but unfortunately, it would seem that he does not trust my judgment. You know that isn't why I called him here. I cannot act without good reason, LaShaw. The word of my daughter is not enough for me to take decisive action. You've already asked countless students. You even resorted to asking teachers, and yet you're still not convinced that woman's inadequacy. I admit that Sable's testimony is relevant, given his involvement, but even so, I hardly think you require his consent to act. Guys, is someone gonna give me a clue in here? Clue me in here. What action are you talking? What was I involved in? I have no idea what you two are talking about. You don't need to play dumb, Sable. We've all already heard about what that woman did to you. Indeed, I know our teacher was a succubus to actually think she'd do such a thing to her own student. Whoa, slow down a minute. Eris hasn't done anything to me. Whatever it is that you're thinking, you're wrong. So you're saying that Eris didn't invade your dream? That's... okay, yes, she did invade my dream. But it's not what you think. Nothing happened between us during my dream, okay? Eris just wanted to talk to me, that's all. Succubus entered your dream to talk. I know it sounds odd, but yes, that's what happened. How did the two of you even know about that anyway? Did Raphael tell you too? Yes, that's right. Raphael has been keeping a close eye on Eris for a long time now, making sure to stop Eris whenever her nature as a succubus is about to run amok. When you and Eris were both absent from class, I informed my father, who in turn informed Raphael. Raphael entered Eris's domain, put an end to her actions, and then returned to give her report. I listened to N and Lisa's account of what happened while I was trapped in Eris's domain. What they are saying roughly matches my experience. If I consider the passage of time in the real world compared to that of the dream world, then even the timing of Raphael's appearance and the start of my class makes sense. Only question left on my mind is what Raphael reported to the principal such that he would want to speak with me. I'm going to be blunt with you. I don't know what you've heard about your teacher, but honestly, her employment here has been under question for a long time now. This year was going to be her last chance, and also my own opportunity to assert the truth for myself. The truth about what? Goes without saying, but your teacher is a succubus. Even for humans who are removed from all manner of demi-humans, succubi are infamous. In particular, word of their feeding habits has spread far and wide. As such, it's come as no surprise that ever since Miss Monte began working here, rumors have circulated about her. Most prominently, she stands accused of using charm magic on her students, engaging in sexual relationships with them, and feeding off them. Any one of these being true would be problematic to say the least. Add to the fact that her students say she put no effort in during class, and well, the principal averts his gaze as a complicated expression appears on his face, and it isn't difficult to guess why. One of his staff members is the target of many heinous rumors. Furthermore, it's his job to uncover the truth of the matter and to then act on it. Wouldn't want to be in his position. Okay? So how do you plan to figure out what the truth is for yourself? And why only me? Oh, why only now? She's been teaching here for a while, hasn't she? Does the answer truly elude you, or are you simply feeding my father's lust for conversation? Consider for a moment my placement in Class 1C. Figured it out. Your hint made it hard not to. Your father purposely placed you in Eris's class so that you could watch over her. That way, you could get a reliable testimony from someone he trusted, rather than mere rumors from random students. Precisely. Of course, he never actually told me he was going to do so. Personally, I'd rather be placed in a class of someone more competent. Shaw glares at her father for a moment. However, In doesn't appear to notice. His focus remains on the matter at hand, Eris's employment. You see, that is troubling. So what do you want to ask me? It sounds like you already have plenty to go on, even without my testimony, right? That's true. I've heard the accounts of numerous students and teachers, including those of my own daughter. Nevertheless, I'm interested in your opinion on this matter, as someone who has been approached by Eris directly through your dreams. What is your take on all of this, Sable? After having your dream invaded and spending a couple of weeks in class with her, what do you think of your teacher? Oh, God. Does she live up to her infamy, or is it overstated? So, shit, I have to go. It's based off the dream. She looked appalled whenever Raphael would say something like sexual. She would be like, what? No. Kids. Nah. God, I want to condemn her. At the same time, I'm looking at it from the point of view of, I think, mostly all the accusations are probably false. Let's defend her. I don't want her to get fired. I don't know. I'm suspicious of Raphael, that's all. Just because she was like, I can't wait to take you to heaven when you die. So I don't think it's that bad having her as a teacher or anything like that, so. Fuck it, let's just defend her. Why not? There's no reason not to defend her. I can see where the other people you've asked are coming from. Eris certainly is lazy and manipulative. She's also unhelpful and seems to distrust her students. But as far as the rumors about her sleeping with students and stealing their life force goes, I'm quite dubious. Yeah, exactly. See? Because she's this horrible teacher, but I don't think she's into all that sex crap. I told you Eris didn't feed on me. She just wanted to know whether I truly did come up with the spell I showed the two of you. That's the only thing she asked me about, and all she seemed interested in. I see. That is still a case of misconduct, but it's certainly nothing as severe as the crime she has been accused of committing. It's still a case of misconduct, even though all we did was talk? Yes, it is, because she invaded your dream, no matter the reason. Entering a person's dream without their permission is a breach of privacy. Even if it isn't something worth firing over, she will still need to be punished. Allow me to apologize on Miss Monte's behalf. This is disgraceful behavior, and the staff of the Academy should know better. I will see to it that she does not disturb your dreams again. It's okay, really. Nothing bad happened. Not to me, at least. Not to you. I wasn't focusing on the two of them at the time, so I didn't catch everything that was said. When I looked back afterwards, I realized that something was off about that encounter. The entire time they were in my dreams, Raphael was provoking and harassing Eris. At first, I didn't think anything of it, but then I remembered the time when Raphael introduced herself to my class. Oh yes, come to think of it, I thought there might be black blood between those two. Bad blood. What did you two see exactly? Well, when Raphael came to our class, she spent the entire time making snide remarks about our teacher. While Eris did respond in turn, it seemed to me like she was acting defensive rather than provoking it. My thoughts exactly. And it was the same in my dream. Even when Eris was the first to strike, it seemed more like conditioned behavior than actual malice. If they were students, I would think that she had been bullied repeatedly by Raphael and was now acting cautious around her or taking preemptive action. Any of this excuses Eris's behavior. No, I understand. Thank you, Sable. You've given me a lot to think about. Perhaps this matter isn't so black and white after all. When is anything ever so black and white? Principal unveils a revealed smile as he hears more about his employee's situation. Eris may not be a good teacher or even a good person, but I have a hard time seeing her as a villain. If her cross attitude and foul behavior are the result of her being antagonized, then she deserves an opportunity to defend herself and to be returned to her original path. It works for me. After speaking with Anne and LaShaw, I make my way to my classroom. Despite the fact that LaShaw and I are in the same class, she's not come with me. It seems that she still had a few heated words to say to her father, none of which mandated my presence. And so, with my head now full of thoughts pertaining to my teacher, I enter my classroom and take my seat and wait for the lesson to begin. Ah, you come at last, my dear Sable. Oh, how I anxiously awaited your arrival. I shudder as a familiar entity appears before me, as if sensing my desire to sit by myself and rest. Hal shuffles closer, bringing her formless face closer to mine. Morning, Hal. What's up? Nothing much, my love. That is, aside from my heart rate, body temperature, and egg count. Ew. Okay. Crying out loud, Hal. You know that isn't what I meant, but it's what you asked, and it is what most certainly the truth. I don't care. Please just stop talking. How strange. Thought that any talk hinting at would ignite your bestial lust and cause you to lose control. You not wish to push me down and have your way with me. Damn it, Hal, what did I just say? I'm not gonna push you. I'm not gonna be pushing anyone down, okay? Oh, you're the type who prefers to be dominated after all. I initially suspected as much, but after you broke free of my control, I began to think differently. This is going nowhere. Maybe I should just leave class altogether. There's a fair chance Eris won't show up anyway, considering what Anne and Alicia wanted to talk about, or how can annoy me any further. I decide to act on my impulse and skip class. I stand up, walk around Hal and the other students, then make my way towards the door. I breathe a lengthy sigh of relief as I exit the classroom, no longer surrounded by my noisy classmates. I feel like I can be at ease once more, if only temporarily. Honestly, why do I subject myself to this? I get far more work done when I study on my own than when I attend class, and when I'm alone, my blood pressure isn't anywhere near as high either. Is there even a point in attending classes like this? I leave my classroom in a huff as Hal's personality begins to get on my nerves. Before I can get too worked up, however, I find myself standing still in the middle of the hallway, sighing and hanging my head. What am I talking about? Interacting with demi-humans is supposed to be one of the perks of coming to the academy. It isn't something I should be annoyed about. Hal and I may not mix particularly well, but I can at least appreciate her intent. Just now, I'm sure Hal was simply trying to lighten my mood. It's not like she wants to irritate me. I'm the one who has a problem here, not her. I'm just a sleep-deprived nerd, subpar social skills. Shouldn't judge her for trying to be friendly. I briefly consider returning to the classroom once more to apologize for my attitude. Given that I'm still irritated as before, however, I ultimately decide against doing so. Forget it. We can talk some other time. Right now, a bit of alone time is just what Oh, still haven't reached the classroom yet? Damn it all. I unconsciously clench my fist as another familiar face enters my view. I can understand your desire to distance yourself from those fools, but you cannot avoid them forever. Class will soon begin, with or without you. I take a deep breath and slowly exhale. After taking a few moments to calm myself down, I respond to LaShaw in my usual manner, concealing my remaining annoyance as best I can. Yeah, I know. I'm well aware that the reason won't be stalled for my sake, nor should it. I was thinking that we might not have class again today, given the situation with our teacher, but if you're here, then perhaps that isn't the case. Oh, that woman will be removed from our class, alright. My father will be having a few words with her over the weekend, giving him time to think about who to replace her with and when. In all likelihood, the change will take place at the same time as our class reassignment. Class reassignment? I didn't hear anything about our class changing. Well, it's really more of a meager than a merger than a reassignment. I'm sure you've noticed the reduced number of students in our class as of late, haven't you not? Not particularly. I don't know our classmates very well, though, and usually I sit at the front of the class, so I can't see who's absent. Fair enough. Had you paid more attention, you would have realized that we've already lost a handful of students from our class. In fact, all the first-year classes have, just as they do every year. You see where I'm going with this? Yes, I believe so. All the classes are being reduced in number. Once they're low enough, a few classes will merge together, resulting in fewer classes than before. There's one thing I don't understand, though. Why are so many students leaving? This academy seems like a warm enough environment. It's not like we're paying to be here. Just a human to miss the obvious reason why a demi-human would leave this academy. Their reason differs from student to student, but the main one seems to be that they miss their homelands. Do not forget, Sable, that many of the students attending academy have never laid eyes on human agriculture before, or slept indoors, or ordered food from a menu. This environment may be warm for you, but to some of the students in our grade, it's absolutely terrifying. Terrifying. An academy like this? I understand the meaning behind LaShaw's words, but honestly, I just can't see it. This is a safe place. We have food, shelter, and our own bedrooms. Our every need is catered for. What is there to be frightened of? Maybe there's a bigger difference between myself and the other students here than I thought. I haven't run into much trouble getting along with others since I've come here, but maybe that's because I've only spoken with a handful of other students. I'm not saying those students are the majority. Even of the students who have never visited human cities, many are able to adapt without great difficulty. But be that as it may, every year there are many students who fail to do so and ultimately choose to leave this academy in order to return home. Yeah, I understand. It isn't as prevalent in human society, but the same thing does happen. Students move to a city from the countryside, or they attend a boarding school, or they study abroad. Some students adapt, others grow homesick and leave early. I know it isn't exactly the same, but human beings do go through similar transitions on occasion. Perhaps they do. LaShaw shrugs off my consideration, neither agreeing nor disagreeing with what I've said. What will you do now? Will you join the rest of our class, or bide your time elsewhere? Good question. Whether Eris is going to continue teaching us or not, I can't say I'm in the mood to sit through one of her lackluster classes right now. Still, I don't want to make a habit of skipping class. I'll just stick around for the time being. Who knows? Maybe Eris will surprise us and actually teach us something. It would seem that you are more optimistic than I am. I, for one, highly doubt that anything productive will come from this. Nevertheless, we're students. We're here to learn. We ought to at least give our teacher the benefit of the doubt. That's what I'm saying. I'm giving her the benefit of the doubt. You know, it's like every instance I've seen with her, she hasn't acted like a succubus, trying to sex dreams and all that stuff. No. Hoping for the best, but also preparing for the worst. LaShaw and I sit side by side as well as we wait for class to begin. Surprisingly, our teacher shows up on time, or at least close to it. For once, Eris is not the last one to arrive, which is enough to allocate gasps of shock from some of the less tactful students. Furthermore, she does not sigh in expiration upon entering the room, nor does she berate us in any way. Our teacher barely utters a word as she enters the room, and from that point on, everything she says is relevant to the lesson at hand. It would seem that Eris does possess the makings of a teacher after all. How odd. Eris seems like a completely different person today. Did the principal speak to her already? I can't imagine that he had the time to speak with Eris at length since the departure of LaShaw and I. Maybe he gave her another warning before calling the Shah and I to his office. Pondering Eris's sudden change in behavior, I remained silent as I watched her call the class attendants to her extended terminal at the front of the room. Guiding our eyes as she speaks, Eris expands the basics of spiritual magic while using a variety of visual cues and showing us famous representations of how these spells are thought to work on a very low level. It is a surprisingly difficult topic considering that it's being taught to a first year student. Even with visual aids, the majority of students find it exceptionally difficult to visualize how magic actually works, especially in the case of spiritual magic. Nevertheless, Eris persists. She explains everything thoroughly, answers the questions posed to her, and continues to address the topic until we all have at least a rudimentary understanding of the topic at hand. So the succubus can't teach after all. Anyone who can keep this class attention while teaching them such a boring subject matter can't be that bad of a teacher. I never thought I'd say this, but yeah, I agree. Eris isn't a bad teacher. I'd rather have her take our other classes more seriously too, but if this is a sign of things to come, then I won't complain. Don't get ahead of yourself. There's still that little matter we discussed with my father, you know? You're right. This might be a case of Eris doing too little too late. It's a shame, but that's how it goes. Really, why couldn't she put in this much effort right from the beginning? What could she possibly gain from treating us with contempt, only to then turn the other cheek when she's on the verge of being fired? I feel like it's the other way around. I feel like she was like this, and everyone started coming up with rumors because, she's a succubus, especially if it was the angel. You can already tell she hates her for being just a demon. And so, with that, I think it would have been the fact that everyone always talked crap about her. It was like a slap on the face. So she turned her face and she didn't care anymore. And then when she's about to get fired or whatever, it's another slap. So then she goes back to trying to be the good teacher that she was. And that's why now she's only to turn the other cheek. Yeah. Weird. I have benefit of the doubt though. Maybe it's a last-ditch effort to save her job. That still doesn't explain her behavior until this point. If she is capable of teaching and even deciding to become a teacher, why show such hostility towards her students? Your guess is as good as mine. Leaving the matter of Eris's attitude problem alone for the time being, I wait in silence for the break to come to an end. Eris's behavioral shift may be a surprise to me, and her attitude a mystery, but neither of those things change the fact that she is unlikely to retain her position at this academy. In all likelihood, Eris will soon be fired, and the class will gain a new teacher who puts in their best for every lesson, not because they fear for their job, but out of the sense of duty or a desire to help others. Whatever changes she makes now, Eris' fate is already in N's hands. As Eris' enthusiasm begins to wane and her lessons return to normal, I decide that it's time for me to take my leave, bidding the chauffeur while I exit the classroom and make my way down the corridor. With most students already waiting in their classrooms, the hallways are utterly devoid of life. There's noise coming from the individual classrooms at first, but as each classroom's representative teacher shows up, they naturally begin to quiet down. Before long, the hallways are silent, and I'm completely alone. Man, this feels strange. The hallways are so peaceful and empty. I can usually only experience this late at night, when everybody else is asleep. It doesn't feel as eerie as it does at night time, but even so, it's a bizarre feeling. Of course, right back to the library. Harboring strange thoughts about the Academy's buildings, I make my way to the library. Upon entering the library, I notice no change in volume. As expected of a library, the entire place is dead silent, even more so than the hallways. It isn't until I pass by the counter that I finally notice the presence of another being. Oh, what have we here? Well now, if it isn't a naughty junior student skipping class. Bored by the conventional education offered by your teacher, Sable? A weary smile forms on my face, not in response to her calling me a naughty junior, but because of her deposition of Academy's curriculum as conventional. Ugh, controversial, yeah. Conventional. Naughty Junior. Compared to the things I research on my own, Eris's teachings could certainly be considered mundane. Considering that we only just started our first year at this academy, however, that's to be expected. Of all the first year students, we're immediately endowed with lessons on unorthodox areas of study. They'd likely quit before the end of the first week. What can I say? I'm a sucker for the bizarre. You're attracted to the bizarre, you mean you have a thing for silicon-based life forms? You know what I mean. You know what I meant. I quickly cover my mouth as I remember where I am. Surprising Jiro doesn't seem to mind. If anything, the academy librarian seems thoroughly amused by my outburst. Sorry. Don't be sorry. That's exactly the reaction I was hoping for. There's nobody else here anyway. Even if you shout, nobody will be disturbed. Even so, it feels wrong to shout in a library. It's fine, it's fine. The last library belongs to me. If I say it's okay for you to shout, then there's no problem. Though Juro's assertion that the library is hers surprises me somewhat, I pay it little mind. The Academy's librarian wants to control the library, and I have no problem with that. All I ask is for permission to enter the library and to study the materials held within. All joking aside, is there a particular reason for your visit today? If you have a specific book or topic in mind, I'd be happy to guide you. Thanks for the offer. I didn't come here with any real goal. I just figured that I'd get more done if I studied in here by myself, rather than endure another lesson from Eris. Ah, yes, I'd forgotten that she was your teacher. My condolences. It's fine. She probably won't be my teacher for much longer anyway. Oh, you're changing classes? I suppose it's nearing that time. That time? Jiro nods. Every year, the herd's thinned fairly early on. Students get homesick or realize that Andromeda isn't what they imagined, or decide that the curriculum is going to be too much for them. Students drop out a dozen at a time, swiftly dropping the numbers of the first years to a fraction of what it was before. It isn't uncommon for more than half of the first year students to drop out before the end of the first month. Half? Seriously? What's crazy is they were already talking about how many people leave before their third year because of the hunt. So how many people even make it past the third year? I heard that our classes would likely be merged as students left, but I didn't realize it was that extreme. Well, it's not as though the number remains that low, and it's entirely possible that your grade won't lose that many. Don't forget that other students may still transfer in from other academies or other locations. Yeah, that's true. Either way, that isn't what I was alluding to. Truth be told, I don't think Eris is going to be teaching here for much longer. Oh my, now this is surprising. You're surprised that Eris might be getting fired? Oh no, not that at all. I saw that coming a mile away. What surprised me is that you'd start spreading rumors about your teacher. I hadn't pegged you as that kind of person, Sable. You got me there. I guess that isn't like me. It's more than just a rumor, though. I was speaking to the principal about her myself. You have influence over that man. You have influence over that man. Wouldn't put it quite like that. You have influence. Okay. I'm friends with his daughter, and he seems to acknowledge my potential. Nothing else, I'd say that I'm a first-year student who he mentors more closely than others. I see. So you get closer to his daughter in order to gain access to the principal's ear. That's quite cunning of you, Sable. I may have underestimated you. Please stop assuming that all my actions carry such sinister intent. Oh, don't worry. I'm not chastising you. If anything, I would consider this to be high praise. It took me years to earn that man's trust. I'm amazed that you were able to do so in such a short amount of time. Like I said, as soon as I began to speak that sentence, I stopped myself. Jo clearly isn't listening to me. She seems to be under the impression that I'm secretly quite devious, and that my actions all stem from personal greed. Hurtful though her impression may be, I'm not going to waste energy trying to argue with her. At any rate, I'd be surprised if Eris stayed as my teacher for much longer. what you said about half of the students in my grade leaving turns out to be true, then I can't imagine that she'd be one of the few first year teachers not to be reassigned elsewhere. Yes, I suppose reassignment is the most likely outcome, as opposed to Eros being fired. What's your plan? Are you going to continue to skip classes until she is fired or reassigned? Nah, maybe just a class here and there. I can usually concentrate on something else during class anyway. So even if she doesn't want to teach, it's not a big deal. My classmates are the ones who are hard to block out. Some of them are well behaved, but others are just. You dislike your classmates more than your teacher. That's quite surprising, considering that you are being taught by Eros. See, I don't know what Eros means. Because I know it's meant to be hurtful. And is it just because they're messing with her name? They're just fucking it up? Or. It's not that I particularly dislike them, they're just too distracting. With a teacher like Eris, who doesn't attempt to control the class at all, they often permitted to do whatever they want. The only time she ever takes control is when she forcibly puts them under her command. That's an entirely different problem in and of itself. Sounds like you got your hands full in there. Perhaps I'd be seeing you here more often than I anticipated. I'm afraid so, at least in the short term. But don't let me get in your way. You're here to work, right? I can search the library's catalogs myself. So you don't need to worry about helping me. Don't be silly. Assisting students with their studies is part of my job. More often than not, I'm doing little more than slowly digitizing books at my leisure or reading them myself. My workload is rarely a burden. If you say so. I didn't really come here with any particular subject in mind, though. In that case, might I suggest reading up on the genealogy of Basilisk. Before you came in here, I was partway through the most interesting part of an uncommon demi-human races and their origins. Basilisks, huh? It does sound interesting. We're talking about rare species. I think I'd rather learn about dragons. I have a friend who's a half-dragon, so learning more about dragons seems like the natural thing to do. You know someone who is half-dragon? Oh, I haven't mentioned her before? There's a girl in my grade called Draken. She's half-dragon, half-human. Half-dragon, half-human. Jora repeats my words mindlessly, as though she's trying to come to terms with what I've just said. Her surprise is only natural. Dragons are creatures of legend, thought by many to be extinct, or to have never existed in the first place. It would be more of a surprise if Joro didn't find my claim to be odd. Regardless, I don't think the book here will be much help for you if you're seeking knowledge and pertaining to dragons. If you want to learn more about dragons, you should probably ask your friend directly. Oh, does this library not have many books about dragons? Joro shakes her head. Quite the opposite. In fact, I'd say there's too much information about them. It's impossible to shift through it all, or to know which books contain the truth and which ones are fiction. For all we know, they could all be wrong. So if you truly do know someone who is half-dragon, I advise you ask them directly. Anything they tell you would be far more likely to be accurate. When you put it like that, I can't disagree with you. But Draken would be in class right now, so it's not like I can ask her. Perhaps you'd better off researching basilisks after all. Alright, I get it. You find basilisks interesting. Please, kind librarian, recommend me a book on basilisks. It would be my pleasure. Hours pass by without my knowledge as I completely immerse myself in the book Drew has chosen for me. The book starts with an analysis of the anatomy and biology functions of basilisks before comparing them to similar species. It also delves into their origins, discussing which types of creatures they most likely evolved from, why they have struggled to survive in the modern world. Less knowledgeable, to be sure, but compared to what I've been learning during class, it's undoubtedly more interesting. Once the growls from my stomach has grown loud enough to reach my ears, I decide to take a break from reading and head to the cafeteria. The cafeteria is surprisingly quiet considering the time of day. Usually lunchtime is the busiest time of the day considering the wider time windows of breakfast and dinner. See, that looks more like nighttime to me. You look out the window. Not paying this particularly much thought, I head to the counter, grab a sandwich, and then take a seat and wait for the inevitability. Why, hello there, young man. Might I impose upon you for... Buzz off, Ray. Having preempted her arrival, I quickly moved my sandwich away from Ray of movement before she can reach for it. Oh, come on, just one little bite. Not gonna happen, Ray. If you're that hungry, why not go look for food in the forest? I'm sure there's something edible out there. At this time of night, if I head into the forest right now, the only edible thing out there is going to be me. See, that's what I thought. This time of night. Confused by Ray's words, I turn right away from the table and glance towards the window. Surely enough, it's already dark outside. Furthermore, the cafeteria lights are on, and many students are eating meals much heavier than one would usually eat for lunch. If I didn't know any better, I'd say it's dinner time. For those of us with money, it is. How could this be? I read through one lesson, not 3. You're so engrossed in the book that you zoned out for 3 lessons. What a nerd. Classic Sable. Ignoring Ray's cheeky words, I reflect on what I've just done. I only just said to LaShawn and Giroux that I didn't want to skip too many lessons. Now look at me. I attended one, left partway through the next, and missed 2 more completely. Maybe I'm not a diligent student as I think I'd like to be. Or, oh my god, I read that so wrong. But at the same time, I basically said what it wanted to say. Forget it. You can have my dinner. I'm not hungry anymore. Seriously, just like that? Thanks, Sable. Don't mention it. He's just gonna go back to his room, yeah. Bummed out by my unwelcome realization, I gave up on eating dinner and headed straight to my dorm room for some peace and quiet. After unintentionally skipping several classes in a row, I feel like I should revise some of the material we've covered so far, or at least study something from the first year curriculum. The moment I enter my room, however, Sable, we need to talk. Oh, crud. Really? Oh, I thought reality slaps me in the face again. Tix, can this wait? I'm really not in the mood to talk right now. Aw, does this poor little human want to sleep? Oop. Well, too bad. I have a question. You have answers. We're talking. Hanging my head in resignation. I make my way over to my bed and sit down on the edge. Fine, let's talk. What do you want, Tix? What I want is to make sure my roommate isn't a sociopath. What? Don't what me? You know exactly what I'm talking about. I do? Wait, are you talking about what I did on my first day here? What? The gravity thing? Give it the time, Sable. I'm obviously past that already. What I'm talking about is something far more dangerous than your pitiful attempt to show off. I thought it was an impressive spell. Did you also think it was a good idea to lose control of that impressive spell while you're surrounded by newbie mages? Unable to argue, I remained silent. Anyway, like I said, this isn't about that. What I want to know is, are you going to join the hunt? Surprised by the sudden turn in conversation, I lift my gaze and stare at Tix in confusion. The hunt? What makes you think I'd participate in that? Oh, I don't know. Maybe the fact that you're human? I shake my head in disbelief. No, not all humans participate in the hunt, Tix, and not all hunters are humans either. So you aren't going to join? Well, I wasn't planning on it, but what? Tix glares at me angrily as she grills me for the answer. Well, personally, I haven't given participation in the hunt a huge amount of thought. It seems that Tick has very strong feelings on the matter. See, the thing is, I was talking to the principal about my education here, and he suggested that I join the Orn the Hunt part of cut the crap and get to the point. Did you agree to join the hunt, Sable? Yes or no? No, I turned him down. Thank goodness. The tension vanishes from Tix's face. The second she hears my response, Tix then brings her hand to her chest for a moment as she sighs in relief. Sorry, I should have known you wouldn't do something like that. You're just a great big nerd, aren't you? What the heck? If you're relieved that I've refused the principal's offer, why are you insulting me? Who says it's an insult? I really am glad, though. I hoped you weren't that kind of human. Without elaborating any further, Tix backs away from me. She then shrinks into her natural size, flies up to her own bed, and disappears from my sight. Even after I've lost track of Chick's whereabouts, however, the sight of her sad smile remains firmly etched in my mind. See, I almost said fairies, but pixies don't live that long. Ooh. after reading this is gonna be the perfect time to end episode, I think. It looks like I hit like a chapter point almost. Concluding with the start of my third week at the academy, I began to take note of the changes to our grade foretold by LaShaw. As she predicted, our classes thinned in number, just a little bit more every day. The hallways are now not as crowded. There are always vacant seats in the cafeteria, and our classes roll contains fewer names every time it's read. Surely enough, students are leaving the academy, not just one or two of them, but entire races at a time. Despite the fact that we are not even 1 month into our time at academy, our grade has already been reduced in its size substantially. There we go, Jesus. Sometimes I could say the word if I don't try to read it. At this rate we're going, we'll be luckily to end up with more than half of our original numbers. Surprisingly, homesick students are not the only ones choosing to leave the academy. Some students are unable to keep up with the curriculum and have been referred to other institutions which may cater to their needs more adeptly. Others have found the structured academic environment to be stressful and have thus returned to their peaceful lives removed from human society. Whatever reasons they give, the number of students leaving academy is far greater than I imagined. Watching them all vanish like this, it's hard to think of it as anything but an exodus. Surprisingly, the one person who seems to have been spared the axe is Eris, the succubus responsible for overseeing my grade. She will no longer be teaching my class, but she will be employed at Andromeda and will apparently be relocated to a different department. Whatever the fate of Eris, everyone involved will feel much more at ease with her no longer teaching my class. See, it's like, why should I make the axe go down? You know what I mean? Saying, oh yeah, like fire her, get rid of her. No, it's just like, move her to a different department. Yeah, no, I wouldn't have felt right about getting her fired. My classmates and I will actually learn a thing or two during class. Eris won't need to deal with us shitty brats any longer, and the principal will no longer need to look over Eris' shoulder every time she moves. All of that and so much more has occurred in the short time I have been present at the academy. And now that it has come down to pass, the question on everyone's mind is obvious. Will everything finally begin to settle down? Will the chaos subside? Will the exodus of students come to an end? Will some sense of normalcy wash over the academy? Do those students offer a simple, straightforward answer? No. Hell no. Yeah, exactly. A few days from now, the hunt officially begins. Peace will only grow further out of reach. While the exact nature of that campaign is not what its name suggests, it undeserves infamy is already too widespread to correct. Every year, the fear, uncertainty, and doubt surrounding the hunt causes ripples to form between those who support and those who oppose the campaign. Whichever side is right is only a matter of time before unrest is born and chaos flares up once more. If I remember the hunt, it's basically you have a group of students and they go after criminals or magical beasts so that the humans don't have to. So you look at it in the way of them policing their own kind. At the same time, then they see those people as traitors to their own kind. Which I find interesting to think about. Because it's just demi-human. No matter what demi-human you are, it's like you're considered part of that weird family. As to where a human, you're just, a human. I find that interesting. And depending on what happens here, I think, this is where I'm going to end it. So far, I find myself suddenly being summoned to the auditorium. Yep, this is a good spot to end this episode. I'll see you all later.